What age should a person who is interested in boxing, when should they start?
Younger the better. I'd say probably a good age is 8 when we're allowed to the boxers.
Richard Torres Sr., the veteran boxing coach and patriarch of one of Tulare, California's most storied boxing families. Richard has spent decades shaping fighters at the Tulare Athletic Boxing Club, instilling grit, discipline, and heart in young athletes across the valley, including his own son. Under his guidance, Richard Coach Torres Jr. rose from Central Valley boxing route to claim Olympic silver for Team USA and now stands undefeated in the heavyweight ranks as one of boxing's most exciting prospects.
Be punching harder, and we're lying on our feet, knees slightly bent, okay? And you'll see some guys, they'll do this right here. They'll do that flick, okay? It's not a hard punch because speed kills, and that's it. That's mainly the thing. Speed kills. So we want to make sure that your hands are up and you want it nice and easy.
How does someone in a coach perspective train an athlete to prepare for a style that they've seen before, but they've never really seen that person fight them?
I'd say 75, 80 is prep and other improvisation.
75 words of advice for an up-and-coming boxer who really wants to get to that elite level, what would it be?
Boxing is not a one-person sport. Although only one person is in the ring getting punched. It takes a team. We sort of toe and stuff, and you can put your hands down on this one and stuff, and all we're doing is we're just touching the shoulder. So I'm gonna try to touch your shoulder, and you try to get out.
Okay.
You don't move your feet and everything. You
just your body.
Just your body and stuff.
Okay.
That's the point where you.
Okay, and so you're just trying to get the other person's shoulder.
Yeah, is that reaction time, okay? Right, making your hips loose, your back relaxed.
And then you're noticing the whole body with the eyes.
Exactly. You get the license, and they're gonna have a boxing match, and they get in the ring, and they get in front of the people, and they have to perform.
So on today's episode of NeuroVision Edge Podcast, we have a very special guest. We have someone who really breathes, bleeds, and thinks about boxing probably all the time. It runs literally in his family. His son, all the way through his grandfather, right?
Yes.
All the way through grandfather, have been boxers, including himself. And his son, most notoriously known as Richard Torres Jr., he is a pro heavyweight boxer, undefeated still, and a silver Olympian, which is a lot of credit to you and your guidance. So let's jump in. If we wanted to take somebody who, let's say, is a 12-year-old and is thinking, I want to be a boxer, I want to be like you or like your son, where do they start, and what is important to know before they start?
For an individual to begin boxing, I think there's a long road prior to that, stepping into the ring and stepping into the gym. I think that an individual, young person should have access to all the sports, all the activities. They should be a little kid, run, jump, those things that we all did as youngsters and stuff, throwing a ball, somebody throwing a rock at you and you're ducking it, those are all those coordination things that you need to develop prior to getting into the ring, prior to getting into any other sport. And I think that somebody who comes through my gym, I ask them, what other sport did you play?
Yeah.
And if they tell me I haven't played anything, I'm like, it's gonna be a little harder to get that coordination.
Okay.
I played soccer, I played football, baseball, I tried it all. I'm gonna try this now. Okay, so I know they probably have coordination.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's the biggest part, that develop that coordination, develop that conditioning in order to be coachable when you come into the gym.
Okay, so you want eye-hand coordination, you want like athleticism
exactly
before starting boxing. Why is that so important?
It just makes the process so much easier and stuff. It makes the process of being a boxer easier, and not to be able to take so much damage. If I have somebody come through and say, hey, I need you to do 2 steps to the left, 1 step right, through right hand, hook, duck under, come through, and they're like, oh, what's that, And they're uncoordinated about that. It makes it real difficult for me to try to explain that to them. So a lot of time easier if they're experienced in other sports, they pick up pretty quick on it.
Yeah. And this is something that, on a separate note, we're seeing as an epidemic almost, where a lot of kids are growing up with iPads. They're growing up indoors rather than outdoors and not developing that coordination. Have you seen that become an issue with some of the younger boxers, or are the ones you're training at a higher level and already coordinated?
The iPad, the games, the sedentary life, that comes into play a lot. I have 2 sessions basically. One's a Monday, Wednesday session, and those sessions are conditioning, push-ups, sit-ups, hitting the bag, running, we do about an hour conditioning, then we do the form and form for the second half. But a lot of times kids come in and they just can't keep up. They can't keep up, so we downsize and things like that. That is a big one. That is a big one, And another thing for sports, and especially in the sport of boxing, is that demasculinization of the young boys. Okay, it's like,
yeah. Let's talk about that. What do you mean?
That means that for me, they come in and many times parents will not even bring their kids in because that's a violent sport. I don't want my son to be violent. I don't want my son, this is, he don't need to do that, but that's the wrong idea. I've seen many fighters come in here, or many people come in here that are either, my brother, for example, myself, I was a little wild than my brother, a little more hands-on, a lot of things, and it helped settle me down. My brother was very quiet. Heck, you get a couple words out of him, he wouldn't speak a whole bunch, but it brought him out of his shell a little more, so it gives you what you need. But society frowns upon a man being a man. And the truth of the matter is, for a young man, anybody, but specifically a young man, I think we need to know our limitations. We need to know our limitations. I know after so many fights and so many years of boxing, if I go talk to this guy a certain way, he may punch me in my nose. That's the risk, and right. I weigh it out. I've been punched before. Do I want it? You make that evaluation. Right. Other times,
there's a consequence.
There's consequences, and I know what that consequence is because I've lived it before. Okay, right. You got to weigh it out. So, okay, do I want to do that or not? And so, is it worth it? I think a lot of times people come through and they say, nobody, you can't touch me. You can't. That's the way the world works. The world works. Mm-hmm. People touching people all the time with, a punch in the face.
We see that all the time. Yeah, I get exactly what you mean, and I've seen this trend continue as well. But if we talk about now, like, let's say an up-and-comer. Mm-hmm. You have an up-and-comer, really coordinated, mm-hmm. but they want to get to that next level. How do you get to that next level in boxing?
So I take it in steps, okay? Are they willing to come in and train? So my steps are, individual comes in, they train for a week. Do they consistently come in and follow the directions and do what I ask them to do? Okay? Are they coming every day? They're going to improve no matter what. They're going to get conditioning and stuff. The next step is, they come that next night, check. They come every day, check. Next step is, we get them in the ring to spar. Okay? Let's go to spar and stuff. And they get punched.
Yeah.
Do they come back? Some don't come back. They're like, I don't want to do that. Right. You know what I mean? Okay, they come back, check, second check. It makes it, okay, there's something here. Right. They're willing to take that little punch.
They got the consistency, they got the toughness.
They got the toughness, okay? And then from there is, are they coachable? That's pretty much the beginning of the whole scenario. Ask them, how are your grades? What are you doing? Because a lifestyle of consistency moves over to boxing, right. Or anything you do.
Right.
Do you get good grades? Are you willing to work? Are you willing to do these things we need you to do to be better? All those things come into play. So they're consistent to come. Are they tough enough? Okay. Second thing, are they resilient? Okay. So they come in, their resiliency is all through the sport, all through the training process. First is the hurt, or not hurt, their sores could be, do they come back? Are they resilient to come back? Okay, right. And know that the process will get easier. Second thing is, they get in the ring and get punched in the nose. Do they come back? Okay, big one, okay? One of the biggest ones, though, however, is when they are ready to actually get in the ring, to get the license, and they're gonna have a boxing match, and they get in the ring and they get in front of the people and they have to perform.
Right.
That's a big one. Are they strong enough to handle that? Are they resilient enough to come back if they lose?
So how do you train something like that? I mean, you've had many boxers, including your son, mm-hmm. who's probably been hurt before, right? Mm-hmm. How do you get that mental resilience up here to translate after, match after match? Can you train that? I guess that's a good question. Can you train that, or is that what you think automatically built in?
it's automatically built into levels, in my opinion. I've seen kids that have been, man, they have no resiliency, but they've increased 100%. You know, is it as much as somebody else? Probably not as much, but they're becoming more resilient. Other ones they came in and they're for some reason. Boxing is a sport where, in my opinion, you need to have something to prove. Okay, you want to prove to yourself you're tough enough. You want to prove to your parents you're tough enough. You want to prove to society I can handle this. You want to prove something to someone and stuff. And there's a fire there that keeps you going. So, you know, that being the case, teaching resiliency is part of that fire, keeping it going. A lot of times, people don't want to sit and self-evaluate and sit there and think about what they got to do. I remember my boy losing, went to World Championships and he lost. And it's crushing. When you train all your life for anything and stuff and you're winning majority of the time and you lose a fight, it's crushing.
Yeah.
And so, a young man, you know, I don't want to embarrass him and stuff, but I cried till I was 25 and stuff, you know, every time I lost. You know, he was having a bad time and he lost at the World Championships and everything. And my wife we were there in Russia and my wife wanted to go hug him and be like, no, leave him alone. Okay, leave him alone, let him digest this, let him work through it.
Yeah.
Okay, and you know, he got out of the system for a little bit, that still him open a little bit, upset and everything, but just kind of say, hey, let's talk about this. He did an awesome job. You reward the efforts he did.
Right. Okay.
You don't want to really start in on you did this wrong.
Right. Acknowledge the positive first.
Exactly. Always acknowledge the positive. You know, man, you came this way. This is great and everything. And then after a while and stuff, you just kind of you keep rewarding that. It's kind of like the chicken and you know, hitting the button to feed itself. You know.
Okay.
You know, you get that positive reward, and they want that positive reward. Okay. That goes 100% a long ways. But teaching resiliency, it's teachable. You do that just by kind of rewarding positive behaviors all the time. They come through. Every time they come in this gym and stuff, it's a place for them to have a great time. You know, hey, what's up, man? We talk. Guys come in, we give them nicknames. You know, we get this guy Joker, you know, Egghead, you know, Spit Bucket, you know, all these guys and stuff. They feel, oh man, you know. And we try to make it a family here, but they keep coming through and they want to be here. Okay, that's part of resilience. They want to come back. Okay, they belong to something. When you get the higher and higher and stuff, the higher the fall, the harder the resiliency can be sometimes. You know, if you're, you know, an elite athlete and you start losing, so like, you know, why am I doing this? You know? And you could leave. But resiliency is taught just by little small steps. A reward, acknowledging the failures, acknowledging the bad times, the hurt times and stuff, but not focusing on them and just continue to go to the positive stuff. Yeah, you did this, but we're here, and here, okay? You gotta keep on focusing and stuff. And it gets ingrained, That's why I like to have kids who come through, you know, they ask, my kid's 6, can he box? No, he can't box yet, but bring them through. Bring them through, let them see the gym, smell the gym, hit the bag a little bit. And it's just a lifestyle, okay?
Get the community feel.
Get that community feel, get that idea. Because you walk into the gym when you're 16 and you know somebody's gonna punch you in the nose, like, I don't wanna go in there. You know, that's not someplace I wanna be. But they kind of grow up in that system and you know, it allows them to belong and wanna be part of it all the time.
Now, a lot of elite boxers, like your son, they start training young, right? So what is your recommendation for, you mentioned that the 6-year-old, you know, start punching the bag, you're not going to be sparring, but at least you'll get a feel for the sport, the gloves, and the community. What age should a person who is interested in boxing, when should they start?
I tell people, my son started when he was in his mom's womb. Because you know how the kick and stuff, and I say, oh look, he's right there, and I put my hand on her stomach and I can feel him, you know, touching or whatever inside and stuff. Oh, give me a fighter here, look at this and stuff. I got a picture of my boy when he was little and stuff, having a bottle in his mouth and gloves on, you know, things like that. The younger the better, okay? However, you can be specialized because of burnout. Burnout's a big thing in boxing and stuff, and you got a lot of people who just focus on one sport, now allowing the kid to explore and get better in other stuff that will benefit their boxing. So, younger the better. I'd say probably a good age is 8 when we're allowed the boxers to come in. So,
8?
8,
Okay.
They're allowed to join USA Boxing.
Right.
But prior to that, that's when you start doing the whole body conditioning, coordination, running, things like that.
So what sports would you recommend? Let's say we have a boxer who, the kid is just naturally has that fire and love for boxing, whether it's ingrained with family or just something on their own. What sports would you say, like, hey, I want you to be playing these other sports to build your coordination and your cardiovascular, like your how do you want to say it? Your strength and mental and physical strength?
Any sport that they get into, I'm all right with. It's going to build something in them. It'll build foot speed, lateral movement, conditioning, things like that. So my ideal ones for me, I like when the kid plays soccer. A lot of cuts, stops, back and forth.
Constant running.
Conditioning. The tennis is great. I don't have very many tennis players coming through and stuff. Baseball, hand-eye coordination. Everything has something to add to development of your skills. I like wrestling. Is a little hard. Wrestling is a great sport. I would like some of my fighters to do some wrestling, get some overall body strength. But it's kind of hard. It's kind of contraindicated what boxing does.
Right.
Wrestling is grabbing, boxing is pushing and stuff.
Right.
And I got a couple guys coming through here are doing cage, and it's just not the same. Their rhythm, things a little off and everything. But every sport is good. Cross country is great. What I recommend against though is running like ultra marathons, something like that. Sometimes I got guys coming through here. When you do one sport too much, too specific, you develop muscles that go along with that sport.
Yes, you do.
So runners who are trained for a marathon, before you know it, they have weaker legs for boxing.
Right.
They're slow twitch muscle, things like that.
Right. They're optimized for something else.
Exactly. And we want sports that are explosive, short durations, that will benefit them in boxing. Weightlifting, all things are great and stuff, but you just gotta take it with a grain of salt because you don't want it to be so specific that that messes up this sport.
That's amazing. And I think that's great for everyone to hear, is that if you, and this doesn't even relate only to boxing, but any kid who really has a fire for one sport, putting them in multiple sports is a good idea, because then it'll train the skills that, just like Coach said, that will help them in boxing because they built it outside of boxing. And especially if the younger they are, the better, right?
The younger the better. And, and boxing is a microcosm of life. It's like any other sport, how you deal with people in bad situations. Boxing crew is different than a football crew. Football crew is different than a tennis crew. You know how to deal with people. And that's always good in order for the kid to become a well-rounded individual.
Let's talk a little bit mechanics. So let's say we have someone who has a consistency, has a resilience, and is really motivated to get to an elite level. Mechanically, what do they have to have right? And what are the key, maybe top 3 things in mechanics? And maybe you can show us some of them too.
So I think a little broader than mechanics is just some natural abilities and stuff. In order to be a good fighter, you have to you got to hit hard, take a good punch, and be fast. Ideal. 3 great things.
So let's break it down.
Two of those things.
Yeah.
If I go with speed and durability, that's not my favorite, but we'll make it work.
Yeah.
Durability and strength, a little easy for pro ranks and stuff. So all 3 is ideal, but we work with what we got.
So let's go break it down. Number 1, how do we get to punching hard? How do you develop punching hard?
There's a couple theories about punching hard. One is it's natural. It's just something natural. It comes from just how you're bred and you're born. So Rocky Marciano, started boxing when he's older, probably 18, 19, 20, around there, and natural hit hard. Ali, great speed, great rhythm, great everything about him and stuff. Just was a real hard puncher, compared to the other guys in the ring. So mechanics do help. Proper form, proper stance, pushing from the toe up, working musculature to get stronger in those areas, explosiveness. Those will help create more strength. Okay.
Do you have like a punching bag routine that you've gone through? Maybe someone who wants to punch harder and can train with a bag, a heavy bag. Is there a routine or is there a drill that you usually recommend?
I recommend people who actually want to be a boxer. Okay, I want to train to be a boxer. So I have guys come in and say, I bought a bag at home and I'm going to start training at home also. I tell them, don't train at home, okay? Because you pick a bad form. Right. And form is everything in boxing, right. And that'll help you to be, stronger, hit, punch harder. Yeah. So I try not to do that and stuff. When you're in here, we want, what exercise to do? It's everything that leads up to the building, and then once you get to it's everything leading up to hitting the bag, the building to hit the bag. The thing is correct form, speed, and form and speed. Okay. Can
you show me like correct form on a heavy bag that, let's say, many people are doing incorrectly and are limiting the way they can get to that elite level with a heavy punch? Is there anything that you see like a common denominator here?
Yeah, you want it in a bag or you want to do
it? Yeah, we can do it over here.
Quick segment break, but you're going to want to hear this. If you're an athlete, coach, or parent and you want faster reaction, this is where we start. This is called vector ball. This ball unpredictably bounces and it changes colors, red, green, or blue. We use this to sharpen the reaction time, focus, and coordination. And here's what makes it different. Whenever you see a different color, you can assign it to left, right, pass, shoot, adding a cognitive load, meaning that frontal lobe, while you're moving around, is making faster decisions. We use this with athletes every week, and we hardwire this decision making. Train your brain, train your eyes, dominate your game. Grab the vector ball in the link in the bio or scan this QR code to get started. Let's get back to it.
So the question was, again, repeat that question for me.
Yeah. So if you were to develop, let's say, like a good drill for an elite athlete who, let's say, is in high school, right? And they want to get to Olympic level, but their form is slightly off, maybe, but their punch is not as hard hitting. How would you develop, or what drill would you recommend for them to do to improve how hard they hit and improve their form for better accuracy?
So once a kid gets to be high school, I think that their punching power and everything, they can increase it 10, 20%, maybe. Okay. But usually it's kind of developed at that time. So as you're younger, you want to develop that strength and power and everything. You learn how to, growing up myself, we did a lot of farm work. Okay. And that helped to develop some power and stuff.
Labor work,
just that overall body movement and strength and stuff. But in order to get the right form, is be punching harder, it is being correct form and relaxed.
So it's like transfer of energy, and so you want to be relaxed and then into the punch.
So transfer energy and stuff, and we're lying on our feet, knees slightly bent, and you'll see some guys, they'll do this one right here. They'll do that flick, It's not a hard punch and stuff. It's kind of annoying. It's kind of to distract you, and and bust you up after a while. But it allows for the bigger punch to come. So you want the right form, and form is everything as far as power, because speed kills, and that's it. That's mainly the thing. Speed kills. So we want to make sure that your hands are up, and you want to nice and easy, and it's all about form. Okay. You want the hands up. You want here, boom. Like I said, some guys will do this other thing, but we're here, boom. And then what you want to do is you want to start from the toe, from the ground up. You want to push, turn. Last thing to come out is your power punch. Okay. And it's all about the form.
So the power starts with your feet?
Starts with your feet and it works its way up. Okay. You want to be able to. You want to throw a hook. I'm here and so my foot's already turning, and I'm coming across. Okay. Starts on the ground up. Once again, they said that power punches are born.
Okay.
You can develop a little more, but Ernie Shavers, a George Foreman,
George Foreman, yeah.
All those guys are born strong and can hit hard. So a lot of guys are quick. De La Hoya, not a real like one punch knockout guys, but had great form, great speed and everything, and those gave him a lot of knockouts.
Right.
Okay, had a lot of knockouts. He had strength in it. I mean, don't get me wrong or anything, but it wasn't like a George Foreman strength,
right,
or a Ken Norton strength. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All these things. So you want to develop something that you can improve a little bit. Not, you know, you got to be born with it a little more.
So if, like, let's say for your son, right? Mm-hmm. Did you ever try to focus on him becoming a power puncher, or was your focus more on form and technique?
We do it both.
Because they go hand in hand?
They go hand in hand. You know, there's drills we do here. We say we go 4-minute rounds. To get this from Olympic Training Center, shout out to Coach Billy Walsh and Jose Polanco, all the team at USA Boxing and stuff. Awesome guys, man, at the Olympic Training Center. And we'll pull some of these drills that they use at the Olympic Training Center level. We'll go 4-minute rounds and stuff. I'll shout out, okay, first minute, speed. I don't care what punch you throw, I need speed, okay? Really comment on their form, keep your hands up, elbows in.
Is this like shadow boxing? Or is
this hitting the bag.
Hitting the bag. Okay.
Hitting the bag. A lot of tic-tac stuff, a lot of technique. And I says, we need speed, okay? So I need a fast jab, one top, 2 bottom. So, okay? One top, 2 bottom.
Fast as you can
for
1 minute.
For 1 minute. Now, you know, and a lot of times I'll even give them a command, hit it, hit it.
Yeah.
Let them walk around, hit it, and they want that reaction time and hit it. So, and then other times say, 2nd minute, power, okay? I want one shot, hard as you get, try to knock down my bag, okay?
Yeah.
And they throw, okay? And then we start picking up on those things. So say, hey, I was noticing on the bag, we need you to, when you throw that power punch, you can't drop your hand, you can't do this, you can't do that. I need you to really squat a little bit, pick it up from the knees up, okay, from the ground up. So and then we just continue, we change it up, change the cadence, change the requirements and stuff. 1 easy on top, 2 hard to the bottom. We just kind of keep on doing that and stuff.
So speed, strength, and then the other 2 are variations?
Yeah, variations. So, because in the boxing, that's one of the things is a chess game. Everybody compares the chess and stuff, because my move is based on your move a lot of times, okay? And vice versa, you know, you do a move, and I do a move, I try to counter, things like that. So it's that reaction time is very, very important that you kind of see where you're at. You got to be aware of where you're at in space, spatial awareness, and be where you're at and know where you're at that time. So you develop all those things, and that's how you do it through different activities. There's different activities as far as shadow boxing and stuff where you do shoulder smacks, okay?
Well, what does that look like?
You know, me and you are standing toe to toe.
Yeah.
So we're here, we toe to toe and stuff, and you can put your hands down on this one and stuff, and all we're doing is we're just touching the shoulder. So I'm gonna try to touch your shoulder. You try to get out. Okay. You don't move your feet and everything. You just
your body.
Just your body and stuff. Okay. That's point where you.
Okay. And so you're just trying to get the other person's shoulder.
Yeah. And is that reaction time? Okay. Making your hips loose, your back relaxed.
And then you're noticing the whole body with the eyes.
Exactly. And so they have a lot of drills that we adapted or adopted from the training center. You know, there's the foot stomp. You put your hands on your shoulder and stuff, and you don't look. We look eye to eye. Put your hands on my shoulder.
Oh, okay.
And I try to step on your toes.
Oh, and then
you don't look. You don't look at.
Oh, you can't look down. No. Oh, okay. I see.
And that's all you're doing.
That's good. Yeah.
It's that hand-eye coordination.
And then you're using your peripheral vision to see the feet. Okay.
Yep. There's the leg smack and stuff. So I'm sitting here and stuff, and I try to get away from me, and I'll smack it. There you go.
Without moving my leg, or
you get away.
Oh, you move away. Yeah. Okay.
And you just keep on moving back, and I just keep on trying to get your leg.
Okay.
And you slap. Okay?
And so that's how you build a little bit of the reaction time.
Yes.
Okay. What about speed? Because you said strength is more, some of that is genetic, God-given. What about speed?
That's another thing. You can develop it, you can increase it somewhat and stuff. Speed is one of those things. I had a couple fighters that, man, great durability, good speed. Punch power wasn't that great, okay? But they came into it with this. But power builds power, speed builds speed.
What does that mean?
That means if I want to be able to hard hitter, I need to hit hard, okay?
You got to do it consistently. You got to hit hard consistently.
You hit correct form, and I got to try to hit hard, okay? One round out.
Keep it simple.
So speed, I want you to hit speed, I want you to relax. There's techniques like speed fast, you got to be relaxed. It's the ollie is always relaxed.
Right. So if you're tight, you can't really be, you can't be fast.
Can be fast. You know?
Okay.
That's why they say, you know, back in the old school days, my dad would not let us lift weights because he had that idea, oh, you get muscle bound and you be slow.
Right.
There's some truth to that and stuff, but you got to be sport specific in your weightlifting, so you don't, that doesn't happen to you. Don't max out all the time, things like that. But strength builds strength. Okay, so you want to hit that bag hard, you got to start hitting the bag hard.
Right.
Yeah, in the correct form and so, because nothing works if you telegraph a punch.
Right.
Nothing works if I see it coming, it's so slow that I can get away from it.
Right.
So speed builds speed. Fast punches, you know, there's things where I was doing it the other day with one of the kids and stuff because they couldn't get that pop. You know, when you throw a punch, you're sitting here and you hit and you pull it back. Pop, it's a pop, okay? And that pop, a lot of times they'll just kind of, and you're not popping it, and so you get a little piece of paper, okay? Just a piece of paper and stuff, and hold it here, okay? Now pop it. And no, pop it. And
like whipping it like with a towel.
Pop, yeah, exactly. Pop, okay? And that gives that little, gives you a range of distance, gives you your hand-eye coordination, gives you that speed that you need to do.
So just have the paper here, and then they would just pop it. Just barely just touch it and come back.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Because if they didn't, they would go through the paper.
Yeah, go through the paper and knock it down and stuff. You hold the paper light and stuff, but yeah, they hit it and stuff. Another thing is, you know, they're hitting the bag and stuff, timing and everything. I get a jump rope and I just kind of swing it like this, and it's rotating like a little propeller, and they get hit between the rotation.
Between the rotation, so they have to learn timing.
Timing, exactly.
And then you could speed it up or slow it down.
Exactly.
Okay, that's wonderful. I love those drills.
So,
One last drill, if you could tell me, speed bag drill. What's one of your favorite speed bag drills?
You know what? I am. You
actually, you have a speed bag here, right?
They're all busted.
They're all okay.
They're all busted. So that's one thing. Boxing gyms are notorious for having kids. If they have kids, they have a speed bag. They'll come through one time, and they'll pop it, or it'll go. So I've had speed bags there for years, and they bust them. Yeah. So I'm old school. My dad put this in my mind and stuff. Speed bags are great. They sound good. I mean, that's the epitome of look good and stuff. You know, there's some benefits to it and stuff, but a lot of times we don't do a speed bag a whole bunch. You know, my boy was doing it a couple of times. We'd do it. You know, it's that timing, hands up, boom, boom, hit the head a little bit, back and forth. Make sure you stop it. You know, just little things like that to make it a little more beneficial. You don't have to hit it hard. A lot of guys want to hit it hard and knock it out, but it's a timing thing. It's a real good timing thing.
Between like the heavy bags, is there one that you recommend for speed?
You know, the heavier the bag, the more power you put into it. So sometimes you'll see these big bags, man, they're huge and stuff. You know, 250 pounds. Yeah. And those are power punches. You know, you can use speed and stuff, power punches and stuff. But as general rule, those power punch bags, you get a light bag, you know, 75 pounds and stuff. When it moves, you can have a long chain, a small chain and stuff. But it moves a lot more and stuff. And that one you can't really focus on the power. You'll send it across the room and stuff. You just get a pop and stuff and touch. Nice.
Would you recommend working on a lighter bag if you're trying to work on speed?
Initially, when you first start, yes. And when you first start boxing, I would recommend to work on a little lighter bag.
Okay.
Okay.
And then work up.
Okay. Because if you have the power's coming. Power's going to be there and stuff. And I'll be able to tell you as soon as you come in. You know, I had a kid come in the other day and looked at him and says, "You got a lot of fights, huh?" And I says, "Oh, yeah." So he goes, "Well," I says, "Yeah, it's been a long time." It says, "Been locked up?" Yeah. I said, "Did you fight in there?" "Yeah." "Nobody messed with you, did they?" He goes, "No, nobody messed with me." You can just tell, you know, the skills. Right. It has something about it.
You can tell there's a power to it.
There's a power to them and stuff. So yeah, I would recommend a lighter bag, and you have to have somebody. You have to be in the gym. If you want to be a boxer, you got to be in the gym. Yeah. The days of somebody saying, "Oh, I'm gonna be a fighter," and coming out of high school when they're 18, 19 and training on their own, that really doesn't happen anymore. Yeah. Okay, because there's not those opportunities. The thing is, you start when you're young. Get into the amateur system. USA Boxing is our amateur system in the United States, and you just kind of go through the process. And they weed out a lot of people, and you just continue to rise to the top. You know, in order to get to the Olympics, you have to be a winning record, be acknowledged by the Olympic Committee, it's the USA Olympic Committee, but you have to go through the process of many fights. Everybody gets to see you, everybody gets to evaluate you, and you go to camp, things like that. But it's a hard process and stuff, but you need somebody watching you to make sure that you're doing the right form.
Right. So would you value form and technique the highest above everything else?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. And you know, and that's arguable. Form and technique and stuff, you got no chin, you know. Yeah. But form and technique, yes. Form and technique, that's dependent. It's going to save your brains. That's going to save your face.
Save your chin.
Save your chin. You know, you're not getting cut stuff. Form. You know, a lot of the guys, the Eastern Europeans do that a lot. You know, they'll do that, you know, bouncing forward and stuff.
Right.
It's just, you know, geographically, that's the way they fight.
Right.
Okay. A lot of bouncing back and forth, a lot of touch. There's certain ones in there that fight a little different, but United States, they have a certain style.
Right.
You'll see that sometimes on TikTok or Instagram. They'll talk about different styles of fighters. You get in Mexico and stuff, let's go, baby.
Right.
You know, even in the United States, they have different areas. California, Central California, we all.
It's like Mexico style, right?
Exactly. Let's fight. You know, let's go toe to toe. Let's fight and everything. But although I've been seeing some guys come in here and say, "Whoa, where's he from?" He's like East Coast there.
Yeah.
You know, there's guys from the East Coast. A lot of movement, a lot of touching and things like that. It just depends. But form and you know, and technique, and stuff, it will make your career last longer and save your brains.
You mentioned there's a lot of different styles in boxing, right? It's region dependent, Mexico, USA, Eastern European styles. How do you train, how did you train your son when it came to Olympic level boxing for the different styles? Because you see people around the whole world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so part of the thing was my son got to be, the story goes, so we train him, and there's certain tournaments you need to go to be seen by the USA boxing guys. You know, they don't come to the local shows, things like that.
Yeah.
They go to national tournaments, qualifying tournaments. So you go there to showcase who you are. So that's where he happened. He showed the case himself, and they brought him to the Olympic Training Center. Brought him to this Olympic Training Center when he was 15, and we went to Russia the first time.
Wow. And
at the Olympic Training Center, they evaluate him. Okay, it's funny because I talked to Billy, and Billy told my wife right before the Olympic qualifier. Told my wife, no, we really like your son. He's aces. He's a great guy and stuff and everything. But this is a performance-based program.
Yeah.
If he doesn't perform, he's going home.
Right.
And that's it.
Yeah.
So they took him to the camp when he was 15. I stayed there for a couple of weeks. They evaluated him. They talked to him. They see he's coachable, see his mentality, all those things stuff. And they put a check in the book. Keep this one around or what it may be and stuff. And then when he gets to that situation and stuff, I kind of handed him over to him. Okay, so him going to the Olympics when he go into it, it was kind of a joint effort. Okay, he'd come home, we'd talk on the phone. I say, "Hey, Rich, what's going on?" And, "Oh, we're doing this." I go, "Well, remember, dude, make sure you're doing this and this. Right. Make sure you're doing this, and this." Coach Billy, we fought. In fact, we fought the same guy in amateurs. You know what I mean? He's from Ireland, and he went to the Olympics. And but we fought the same guy. It's funny, but we have a good relationship, and we talked about. You know, but I would like him to do this and this. And he goes, "Well, Rich, we were doing this." I go, "Okay, well, let's work on that." So in order to get somebody used to different styles, you have to bring those styles in. Ideally, in the pro ranks, you hire guys who are similar. You look around and say, "Hey, do you know anybody who's a mover? I need a mover left-hander." You know, Philadelphia's got somebody. Let's bring it. Hey, will you send them to camp with us? We'll pay them. We'll do this, and this, and they'll send them over and stuff. In amateurs, you kind of do the same thing, but you know, we don't have the money to do in the pro ranks, so we just kind of say, who is around here that fights that way? Okay,
right. You got to scout.
We scout. Sometimes I'll have boxers in here that says, "Okay, I need you to fight on your back foot. I need you to be moving. Don't stand still. Move. Just give this guy a look."
Yeah.
Okay. Or I need you in there throwing these punches, what it may be. And so, one thing you want to frown upon is having gym wars. It happens all the time, but it's, you know, we don't want that. We want to be technical and want to get the stance. So we try to find guys who have a similar style to who we're going to fight. In amateurs, it's pretty hard. You know, so you bring a guy who's fast in, you guys who fight slugs, a guy who moves all the time and everything. Because when you get to a tournament, you don't know who you're fighting.
Right.
You know, it's a draw, and I'm fighting this guy and stuff.
Right.
And if you've been in the system long enough, you know who that person is. I know who he is.
Right.
I know exactly how he fights.
Because you know the top people already.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, top people. Every now and then there'll be somebody coming in, and, and you try to do the best you can with the information you have. Oh, this kid's, for example, they'll say, oh, this kid's from Tulare, okay? From Tulare Athletic Club. He's going to be in shape. He's going to come at you.
Yeah.
Okay? So it's kind of ideal to do that.
Because that's how you train.
That's how we train something. That's kind of the atmosphere and the culture we kind of build here. So, my boy asked me one time, he says, hey, Pops, how did you fight when you're boxing? I says, I had to come at you.
Right.
I'm a 5'8" middleweight. Mm-hmm. I can't box from the outside. I gotta get inside. So, I'm gonna do that. No. You have different skills. When the kid comes in, I evaluate them. Let me see you shadow box. Let me see you do this. Let me see you do that. And I says, he has speed, he has height, and he has strength. Whatever he may have. And so we're gonna work on that.
Right.
Not every fighter is the same. Not every fighter I train the same. I train them to the skills and their abilities they have. So when the fighter's gonna fight somebody, we bring multiple people in. We travel. And we try to find different people to fight.
Yeah.
Because ideally, you want to be able to make adjustments on the fly in the ring in order to box.
And would you say that's difficult to face something that you've never faced before, mm-hmm. right? So by scouting and by getting, Richard or your players different styles, mm-hmm. you're preparing them for different styles.
Yes.
But when it comes down to, let's say, like pro fighting, mm-hmm. now, like your son is doing, when there's different styles, how does someone in a coach perspective train an athlete to prepare for a style that they've seen before, but they've never really seen that person fight mm-hmm. them? Like, how much of it is preparation versus how much of it is improvisation?
I'd say 75, 80 is prep, and other than improvisation.
75.
You have an idea what's going on, and my boy is really good at it. A lot of top-notch fighters, they can flip it on the fly. They can say, "This is not working.
Right.
Let's change it up.
Make adjustments.
And stuff, and that's very important. So, one of my problems when I boxed was I couldn't make adjustments too well, and so mine was always let's go straight forward all the time. So, and I fought the East Coast guys who moved all the time, and they give me trouble.
Right.
So you train. It says, okay, we look at fights, we evaluate fights, and everything's on YouTube now. Amateurs to the pros, world championships, and we start evaluating. Okay, see how he did that. See how he does that. When he does this, this is what's coming next. Okay, I saw it in this fight, and compared to this fight, this is a habit of his. Okay?
So you have to watch game tape.
You have to watch game tape. You have to, I watch game tape, and people ask me, "Do you know this fighter?" He said, I'm not real good at picking out this person, that person, but I know who my boy's going to fight. I know who we're going to fight. I got a young man named Josue Ceja, up and coming, great fighter, fast, good ring knowledge and stuff. When he fights somebody, we kind of know who he's going to fight.
Right.
And we'll study tape, which will be go to YouTube. Everybody puts their stuff on YouTube.
Yeah, that's amazing. We have access to pretty much all fights at this point, right?
Oh yeah.
So let's say you go to YouTube, you see the video. Mm-hmm. How do you, with your mind, with your expertise, analyze what you're seeing, and how do you translate that for your boxer?
Every fighter's got a different. Every scenario is different. The fighter we're boxing is fighting the specific fighter. They may not have the same attributes that my son does, or any other fighters that he's gonna fight coming up to that. So we know that if you do this one move to him, or you do this to him, he's going to react a certain way. Okay, doesn't mean he's going to react that way all the time. It does not mean that he's going to change it up for us. He may try to change it up. We had a fight one time where the gentleman was a big guy, tough, went the rounds with a lot of people and stuff, and people were like, "Oh, this is going to be a test for Richard Jr." And so okay, let's not be there for him to hit you. Boy's got fast feet. They want to say he's a slugger. He wants to come forward, so he's got real good boxing ability. And he just touched in and out, step, side, step, in and out. And the guy hardly threw any punches. Right. Like, oh my God, this guy no good. He didn't throw much. He didn't throw any punches because he was apprehensive because the boy was there to be hit.
Right.
You don't want to set yourself up to get hit and put down and stuff. So the guy just wasn't throwing any punches, and they really poo-pooed his what he did that day. And I says, but you don't understand what my boy did to nullify that.
Yeah, exactly.
He nullified that.
And that's all game tape. You were watching the game tape. So how much attention do you pay? Like, I want to get a little granular. You're watching the game tape. You're noticing the footwork. You're noticing what type of punches. You're noticing maybe the mentality even. How do you translate that for the boxer? Like, how do you get them to realize it? Or are a lot of fighters already pretty good at picking up and watching game tape and then translating what they need to do?
A lot of fighters are good at doing that, okay? But they need that affirmation about this is what we're going to do. Okay. It's a conversation. It's a conversation watching the tapes. Hey, did you see that? Did you stop? Let's see that. Okay.
Right.
Rewind.
Point things out.
See that and stuff. So see how they did this, and this and stuff. Now, if we do this, and this, that's going to compensate. That's going to overcome that. And he'll say, well, I think I can do this, and this. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, but be careful because if you move that way, you can make sure your hands up because he's going to do it. So. It just watching the videotape, you break down specific moves and stuff. A lot of times we see fighters and stuff. I say, notice he's coming forward and leans forward all the time. Every time you come in, he doesn't punch until you punch.
Right.
He'll take 1, 2. He'll try to catch and throw. Right. He'll try to do those things and stuff. And the general rule and stuff, when they're in the heat of the battle, 5th round of a fight, they're going to go back to basically what they done all their life.
Yeah.
Okay. There's certain fighters that don't do that, but most of them, you go back to what you do most of life. But you just kind of study what their tendencies are, and you try to capitalize on those tendencies.
Most people, when they think boxing, they think, someone who has a fire in them, someone who maybe has been in a lot of trouble in their, past life. They don't think about the cognition or the intelligence. But it sounds like there's a lot of intelligence that you need to be a good boxer. Yes,
it is a specific intelligence. Don't ask me to do any algebra questions, any geometry. But I can sit there and watch some of the fights and say this is what needs to be done.
Right.
We'll be sitting at boxing shows, and I'll see something in there that's unique or different, or they have a certain move, and I'll say, hey, come here. I talk to some other fighters. And say, see that man? See how he does that? Watch him. Okay, he's going to throw the right hand. Boom. Okay. So you need to evaluate that. You need to know that. If I run across that situation, that's what's happen. I tell my boy and stuff, any of the fighters, okay, remember, when he throws the right hand, he leans, okay, and he wants to throw a hook after that and stuff. So this is what we're going to do in order to capitalize on that. And he practice that. So that's in his repertoire. We had a couple of fights. One he's fighting, I can't recall where it was and stuff. It might have been Florida or Fresno, but I told him, when he throws that right hand, man, he's open for a belly shot.
Yeah.
All you can do is slip, boom, nail him and stuff.
Right.
Boom, he did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
This fight.
Like clockwork.
It's like clockwork. Yeah, it was beautiful and everything. And another time it's, okay, remember, he throws that jab, he leans forward and stuff. So you just kind of pull back a bit, come out with that uppercut. Okay.
Right.
Boom, beautiful, worked. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but the higher he gets up now, his ranking and stuff, the more elusive those guys are with their habits and things like that.
Like that. It's so important to have what's called pattern recognition,
yes.
right? So knowing the pattern that your fighter likes to fight with, and then having the memory skills to remember that during the fight.
That's hard. That's hard right there.
But as the levels get higher, you said the fighters become more elusive, right?
Yes.
And they're aware of what you do, right? You're aware of what they do. And so you'll try to mix things up. How does an elite level fighter mix it up without losing his natural abilities or without losing his natural touch?
I don't like to. A lot of my coaching has come, my coaching ability or knowledge has come from how I was coached. Watching other people and stuff. And I remember one time, I'm flat-footed. It's very obvious, and when I box and I want to plant and punch and stuff. I remember going to training center and trying out for the Pan American Games, and they tried to switch up my style. They wanted me to be on my toes and dance a little more. I had short arms, I can't do that very well, and so I've never done that really. So I try to use what their skills are and their natural abilities are in order to help create a game plan to fight someone.
So then you wouldn't recommend changing a style, especially if it's working?
Not a whole bunch. There's very few guys that can changed style 100%. You're like, oh man, I didn't expect that, because he came out in boxing, you know. Because we don't have all the skills, all the tools all the time, you know. We have specific. We hit hard, we come forward. Those are some of the things. I can't move. My boy can do it all. You know, they like to say, oh, he comes, you know, he's just a slugger, he's just a brawler, and you know. And you see some of his old amateur fights and stuff. He's a great fighter. He's a great boxer. He moves well. He boxes well. But you know, he's got a little fire in him that he likes to put him out. You know, he wants to get in there and stuff. And he doesn't have very much reserve when he hits you hard and he nails you. He knows you're going down. He's going to come at you hard.
Right.
So you don't want to change somebody's style so much that is detrimental to them. And you know, and you just kind of adapt. You adapt as it goes.
So if we talk about, like, because you're very good at analyzing boxers and watching game tape. So if we go back to a fight like earlier this year, Canelo versus Crawford, can you give me your take on what you saw and why you think Crawford was able to really make kind of an easy match out of Canelo, who is a really well-respected and powerful puncher?
You know, first and foremost, you know, a shout out to Crawford, man. He's got the dog. You know, he's got the dog. He is amazing in that he's got this focus that you're not going to be beat.
Yeah.
You know, and I can say to myself, oh, I'm not going to be beat. I'm going to be beat. But there's always a little thing, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I talked to the coach one time at the training center, and I asked him specifically, and he said, Clarissa Shields.
Yes.
He says, that girl does not believe she can lose.
Yeah.
She won't lose. She just will not believe that she can lose. And she believes it 100%.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be beaten. So with Crawford and stuff, he's got that dog in him and like that. You know, Crawford was great. It was a great strategy. I think that Canelo over time has come to the point where he's focusing on his power rather than his boxing. Okay, he's a little older and sitting down his punches, and power is addicting.
Right.
You hit somebody, boom, and they go out the ground. That's such a rush.
Right.
That's such an ego boost and stuff. The next time you come through, I want that again.
Right.
I want that again and stuff. So I think that Canelo has been very successful with his power. This one shot, uppercut, you know, nailing people and stuff, timing and things like that. And he's able to do that. I think he brought that into the game with Crawford, and you couldn't do that with Crawford. Crawford has great foot movement, great ring generalship. You know, I love that every time that Canelo set up for that big uppercut, Crawford just walked into him and smothered, and you couldn't get that off. You know, you need distance to get that punch, right? And stuff. And Canelo would load up, and Crawford walked into him, turned him, would give him a sitting target, and just outboxed him. You know, outboxed him, and it was just a great show of technique against Crawford. People don't like to see that. They want to see that. They want to see cage fighting with blood and guts and glory and stuff. As somebody who's you know, a student of the sport, being a student of the sport, you see that and you're like, that was beautiful, man.
Right. No, it's like poetry.
Yeah, it was. It was.
It was beautiful. How would you, if you were Canelo's coach, knowing what already happened, how would you go back and be like, okay, this is how we're going to train? What would you change to give Canelo a better chance against Crawford's movement and style?
You know, we'd be a little lighter on your feet, a little, not really. Canelo boxes well. He's a great fighter, a great boxer and stuff. And like I said, the power becomes addicting, and you want to see that knockout punch and stuff. And you know, I would focus a little more on movement. Okay, he has great head movement, great head movement. He does all those things well. And so I would work on foot movement a little more, and so so you can take up the distance, get out of bad situations, cut off the ring, things like that, and so
just being lighter on the toes.
A little lighter on the toes, and so.
Okay. Yeah, because we saw that. I mean, Crawford was very, very good with his movement, very light on his toes.
Yeah,
it's amazing. So if you had to leave one last, let's say, words of advice for an up-and-coming boxer who really wants to get to that elite level, what would it be?
You know, boxing is not a one-person sport. Although only one person is in the ring getting punched, okay? It takes a team. Using no cliche, it takes the village, because you need all these people around to support you. You need a good coach, a coach that you can trust. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times, you go from coach to coach. See, some of these guys do hopping, they gym hop, they coach hop, and that being the case, and I'm on the other side of the fence now, but I think it's kind of a cop out. You know what I mean? Because they say, I didn't win because that coach didn't do that. No, you didn't win because you didn't do the right game plan. You didn't win because you weren't training hard enough. You didn't win because you're messing around with social media or whatever. And so that's part of the reason. So the coach isn't the reason. The thing is you are. So, but you got to have somebody who you can trust. You got a good support system.
Yeah.
Okay. Find somebody you can trust, and train your ass off.
Yeah.
Okay, train your ass off and believe in the process. When people ask me at the time, we've been there for a long time. Boy's the one that went the furthest, and anybody in this town and my club. In that, the thing is, he trusted the process.
Right.
When he moved to Colorado Springs Olympic Training Center, he said, "Pops, what happened?" Right after he graduated. And what do you mean what happened? He goes, "Well, my friend here, he's going here on a scholarship. This was going down on a scholarship. I got nothing." Well, no, you got something. Oh, where do we? So I called the Olympic Training Center. I said, "Hey, we need something. Do you have something? We might turn pro." No, we got something coming up. So they gave me 2 weeks, a week. They gave me a call back and said, "Hey, we're starting a residency program again, where we'll have boxers on site, and we want your son to be the first one to come back."
Yeah.
I said, okay, cool. And so he went there, and so he believed the process that we're going to get him something, and he was in there. And then you just got to listen. Take what you can use and leave the rest. You need people you can trust. You need resiliency, and you just got to not let the little things get you down. You got to learn how to be resilient.
Yeah, it sounds like with boxing, it's easy to get knocked down, right? Not literally, but mentally, right?
Every day you come to the gym, there's something there. I see fighters all the time. They'll come in here and they'll train and stuff, and they're doing great. They're on a high going from the last fight and everything to come in, and for some reason they're off.
Yeah.
And they get tapped up a little bit, they get touched up a little bit, and they got their head down. Like, I said, "No, hey, let's go, man. You did all right. Let's go." I don't put too much emphasis on bad performances if it's a fluke.
Yeah.
Hey, we just had a bad day. It was bad, whatever may happen. So, but if they're consistent coming in and they're sitting in my corner, or I got a group of kids sitting in the corner, do nothing sometimes, I say, "Hey, what are you doing? Why are you here?"
Right.
You gotta get that focus and stuff. But you gotta have somebody to be a good fighter. It's a desire, somebody you could trust, and follow the plan.
Trust the process.
Trust the process, okay?
Yeah.
And it's not easy. Never expect immediate benefits and payouts. My boy's like, "Pops, I got nothing. What do you? Wait, you have something." And as
how old was he at this point?
Well, he just graduated from high school.
Yeah.
Gonna be 18, 17, gonna be 18. He just turned 18. He's a June baby. So other times he's 10. He'll look at somebody else like, we've seen like Jose Ramirez,
Oh yeah.
Hey, Jose, I'm a boy, man. I'm a boy, little guy looking at him. So, and people, "Hey, how you doing?" And Jose kind of pushed the boy off the side, and the public and stuff. And he's like, "I want that." Says, "Wait, it'll come. You just gotta be patient." And he told me one time he was in Germany or something. Somebody in the airport like, "Hey, you're Richard Torres, man. How you doing?" It says that you're here.
We're here. Yeah.
This is what you work for and stuff. And you got to trust people though. You got to trust people, because I have fighters that have come through the gym and they did it right. And I tell my fighters who I turn pro, I said, "Hey, on one agreement. When I say it's over, it's over. Mm-hmm. Okay? I don't want you to come back, I want more fight. I go, you got trust in my evaluation and stuff. You don't have to box me. I'll tell you to go somebody else, but I don't want to be responsible for any damage done."
Right.
They trust me, and a lot of them have done that. So, "Okay, coach, I'm done."
And that's a hard thing for a fighter to make that decision, right?
And
if we talk about Jose Ramirez, do you think he should keep fighting?
I think Jose's had a great career. He's a great career Olympic competitor, a great career and stuff. You know, I don't want to. My opinion, I think he's pretty much done. You know, he might have one more fight and stuff, but he'll be. They'll bring him in, not an A side, he'll be B side, in my opinion. So, and nothing against Jose. Like I said, Jose, he went through the ranks.
It's an amazing career.
Amazing career, man. He's been through a long time and stuff. And you know, sometimes when you're in the limelight or you're in the hot seat, and you gotta say, I had enough. You know, this is enough, and you gotta just kind of take things into consideration. Like I said, boxers are hard. You know, boxing as compared to MMA, boxers go out on their shield.
Yeah.
You know. Don't stop the fight. I'm gonna go out and knock me out before you're done. You know, I don't get to tap out. So, you know, boxers, no matter in their life, they're not gonna quit. And Jose's not a quitter. He's gonna try it again, I'm sure, probably. But I think he's got a family. I had a fighter one time, Pastor James. Shout out to Pastor James. He's a youth pastor and stuff.
Yeah.
And he had a great fight at Tachi when they were fighting and stuff. He got dropped and came back, won a little belt that they had for that in the ring. But he came back to the gym, he says, and he got in the ring with one of my fighters, and the fighter he sparred wasn't that good and stuff, and then the guy was kind of tapping him up, like, hey, James, what's up, man? You look kind of bad today, man. Oh, coach, I don't want to tell you, but man, I've been dizzy ever since that fight. I don't feel like, oh man. I said, okay. I called a doctor friend of mine and stuff, went in, did all things, that he had a brain bleed. And I said, hey, James, we're done, man.
Yeah.
You know, and any fighter who has fought for years and years and years, once they stop fighting, there's a depression.
Yeah.
You know, there is a notorious, you know, thing that happens after a fighter has a big fight. There's always a crash.
Right.
There's always a crash. After, I mean, and we have many fighters who are addicted to drugs.
Yeah.
Okay. Because they're looking for that to compensate for that feeling.
Because when they crash, they want to come back.
They want that feeling.
They want to just stay there.
Yeah, they want to stay that feeling and stuff. You know, and you see a lot of fighters, you know, they have no outlets, no resources, and you know, they go to the easiest stuff that they can find.
Right.
But to tell a fighter that they're over, like, you know, you kind of lead them to that well to drink from. Hey, I think I'm gonna be over, you know, and stuff. But Jose's a smart guy, and Jose, like I said, I'll shout out and all respect to Jose because he's done it.
No, he's represented our valley really well.
Yeah, and then he does a great job for the farm workers and the water coalition and things like that. You know, his manager Rick, shout out to Rick Merigan. So you know, those guys do a great job for the valley.
Any other last words?
You know what? It doesn't have to be boxing, guys. I tell people all the time, you know, find something that you're passionate about and give it your 100%. I have guys come in here all the time and stuff, and they're screwing around or hitting this. I tell them all the time, do not be a 40-year-old man looking back when you're a kid at the boxing club and says, man, I should have tried that a little harder. I should have did a little better. Give it your all, no matter what you do, and see where you land. See where you're at.
Yeah. Boxing is like life. You got to leave it out all on the ring. You might not get another chance.
Exactly, and just because you don't get it the first time, hey, there's other ways out there.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Thank you.